Hello, and welcome to the Needs Languages YouTube channel. I'm really glad you're here today. Today, I wanted to talk to you about conflict resolution in the workplace. So, according to research done in 2008, there was $359 billion in conflict. Now, can you imagine that? $359 billion was in conflict. Now, a lot of times conflict is avoidable. So what I mean by that is that with knowledge, there are some conflicts that don't need to happen. Recently, I had a person tell me that younger people don't want to work nowadays. Now, I don't think that's accurate. And the more he talked, he told me he had owned his own business and he started before he started working this company. Yet every time I see him at his job, he's sitting down and he's not working. And he likes to create unnecessary conflict and by wasting time. Or, let's say, what about another person who injures themselves at a job? Let's say they twist their ankle and yet they're wearing a boot and they can still work, but they might not be as mobile as they normally are. And management says, "Oh, we can't give you special treatment by giving you a different accommodation for a short period of time." Or let's say there's this kind of a conflict at work. We have a 5 foot person that needs a ladder, and they may say to them, "Oh, it's going to cost too much money for the ladder, and it's not fair to the person who's taller than you to give you a ladder, not give them a ladder." So, let's look at this way. Maybe it's not that people don't want to work. Maybe it's that it's about being treated with equity or fairness. What if they don't want injuries going to work or they don't want to be called a liar or traumatized because they just want their basic needs taken care of. I mean, I think everybody wants their basic needs taken care of in the workplace. At least that's what I believe. I believe that we all want equity. So in 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 just the basic aspect of things, people want to do a good job. I think everybody wants to do a good job. Everybody wants to do their best and give their best. So I think part of the conflict is that, what happens is when an employer violates their end of the agreement, the employee doesn't know what to do. I think that's one of the problems we're having in our society is that a lot of people are feeling like this has been happening. And people will, "Well, what about employees that have been violating it for years?" Well, employers a lot of times will have recourses and what to do. And it starts with the employer because the employer hires you. And so how can we change this dynamic? Because we need to start looking at these dynamics and changing them. You know, so I think that we need to be looking at this from a different perspective. And whether each party walks in, what we need to be looking at is how do we walk in to this relationship. I think the first way is when we walk into an employer-employee relationship, we need to be looking at it as both parties need to not see it as how do I take advantage of either party. We need to be looking at this as a partnership. When you walk into a marriage situation, you don't go, "Aha, how can I take advantage of you? How can I use you to my benefit?" They look at each other as how can we partner together? How can we complement each other? And if we treated employment the same way, we would probably have reduction in conflict. We would probably have reduction in cost. So why don't we look at it that way? Why don't we start looking at employment the same way? What does your employee need to give you what you need as an employer? An employee, what do you need to give your employer, so that they can be successful so you can keep your job? So this is what we need to be walking into is for both parties to see this as how do we work together in partnership. And I'm going to end it on this note. So if you would like more information on the needs languages, please do reach out. We would love for you to, we have a book here that is great on how to communicate your needs I am an accessibility expert on this. I work on how to skillfully communicate who you are and what you need. I think that's very vital on all of us. And we haven't really learned how to do that. We need to uncover this, and we need to do it in skillful ways, because when we don't do it in skillful ways, when we feel silenced, it's when we get grumpy, when we don't know how to communicate. And I think that's the biggest thing. So, on that note, I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.